Hi, today we'll be learning to make these loose sunflowers using gouache. The first step is to draw out our cup in which we're going to add these flowers, or like a mug. So create a very basic shape. I'm using a 300 GSM block, and you can use a nice thick sheet of paper and just create a blob for the flowers. So the first thing we're going to do is create the background. I'm going to mix a little bit of red and a little bit of pink and white to create like a nice background color. You can use either red and white, or if you have a crimson already in your palette, then just mix crimson and white, and we'll create a very watery mixture and then use that for our background. Choosing your colors right is very important, so always make sure that you use a very subtle color for the background in gouache, or it should be like extremely dark and pretty opaque. So these give a very nice final finish and feel to your painting. So experiment different kinds of backgrounds and see what works best for you. This is what it looks like now once it's dried, and we're going to mix a nice blue color, which is, again, I'm adding it with white to make a pastel shade so it goes with the entire color story. So I'm going to use a nice blue and add it in my coffee cup. You could either leave it at this shade or add one more layer. What I'm doing is adding a little more layer on top of it because I want it to be slightly darker in terms of its final feel, because I'm going to make very bright sunflowers on the top. So for the sunflowers, I'm going to use some yellow directly mixed with like a little bit of white, because I want a slightly thicker base, because it's going to come on top of my blue. So there is a chance that this may still require a couple of layers, so we'll mix a nice bunch of color and then add our yellow on top. The strokes that I'm going to use is going to be like tiny petals. Just imagine that you have like about 20-30 petals around the center focus, and you'll just create these brush strokes all around it. And don't worry if your yellow is going to be seen on top of the blue, and now you can see, like, that area is looking a little greener, but that's fine. There's going to be multiple layers that's going to come on top. So your base layer is still fine. All you need to do is establish the basic shape of your flowers and we are good to go. Now that my 3 sunflowers base is established, I'm going to mix a little bit of brown and add it in the center. So if you do not have a brown in your palette, you can mix a little bit of your red and some blue and maybe a dot of yellow. So if you mix all the 3 primary colors, you will get a really nice brown. So now I'm going to add it in the center, but not as a complete circle. I'm going to add it as tiny specks from my brush. I'm just going to tap on top of it. So this way I am now creating 4 flowers and not just 3, because I've added a bud even in the center. We're going to now mix a little bit of darker yellow to create some more details on top of the petals. So you're going to have now a number of layers from the darker yellow. I'm going to add a little more brown for the center and then a little more lighter yellow on top as a highlight. So you don't always have to go in the same shade of light to dark and then darkest. You can also go light, dark, and then add a little lighter shade. So that way you experiment with a lot of different variations, and that would help you. So this is my second layer right now, in which I'm creating a slightly darker yellow. The sunflowers are slowly coming to life. Now I'm going to mix some white and some yellow to create a slightly lighter shade so I can add some highlights. Remember, when you add multiple layers or when you add highlights, don't hide the bottom layer completely, because then there's going to be no point of you creating so many different layers of so many different colors. So make sure that you always add a slightly lesser area that you're occupying in the additional layer that you create. While my flowers are drying, I'm going to create a small pattern onto my coffee mug or a cup, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to create a small pattern of a plus symbol on the entire cup. So I'm mixing a little darker blue as compared to the base color, so it looks like it's been engraved on top of it, or it's been like imprinted on top of it. I really like monochrome this way, wherein I use a single color and then use a slightly darker or a lighter color to add in patterns on top of it. Using the same colors, I'm adding a little more details to complete my mug. My flowers have dried. I'm going to use a little bit of darker brown right now mixed with some yellow to add in between the petals to give a slight highlight. So there is a possibility that some of the areas might not have completely dried, because the gouache style we're using today has a little more water than you would if you use a very thick layer, but that's fine. It's a good to experiment with different styles in a new medium that you're trying out. I'm adding some highlight right now and trying to see what other details can be added to finish our painting. The next step is to add some leaves, some sticking out from behind, some around the coffee mug, and that would complete your composition. If you had fun watching today's tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit the bell icon so you can get notifications every time I put up a new video. I'm adding a little darker shade for the pattern on top of the coffee mug, and we'll try and now add some details to finish our entire painting. I'll also use the similar blue to create a shadow below the flowers, so it gives an indication that the flowers are sticking out of the coffee mug. And with that, we finish our painting, and this is what it looks like once it's dried. I hope you had fun making this painting with me today, and don't forget to add me on Instagram and tag me there so I can see your paintings. Thank you.